during the 2016 season in Cleveland. Coming up today on NFL Live, Mel Kiper Jr. and Todd McShay, not one but two, both released new mock drafts today, and both are here to defend their dueling mock drafts versions 4.0. Glad to have you with us at this early hour. Wendy Nix, Adam Schefter, and Teddy Bruschi, Mel Kiper, and Todd McShay will join us shortly. But we start now with the reaction to the Ravens, who have agreed to a deal with John Harbaugh on the sign. According to Jamison Hensley, John Harbaugh repeatedly said he was excited about adding quarterback Robert Griffin III. I feel like we got a steal, Harbaugh said.
Robert came in, had a really good workout. He looked good throwing the ball. He's in very good shape. Obviously, his personality, he's a confident guy. He's a very talented quarterback that's had a lot of success in this league, early on. So we're excited about it, and felt like we needed a number two quarterback. We needed a guy, and you look at the veteran quarterbacks out there. I mean, where we're at right now, I'm pretty excited about this player. I'm really feeling like we, got a steal.
And certainly a new opportunity for the player as well, a place to play for Robert Griffin III. Adam, what's the future of the quarterback position in Baltimore?
I think it's in question. Look, Joe Flacco has not gotten this team to the playoffs recently. And even though he won the Super Bowl that one year, I think this team is looking around. And at the very least, it needed a backup quarterback today, which is why you see that they've entered into this one-year agreement with RG3. Go back to last summer. They have been looking for somebody to back up Joe Flacco. At that point in time, talked about Colin Kaepernick. At that point in time, there was some fan backlash. There were some concerns from the ownership at that point in time. And so they decided to hold off. They went with Ryan Mallett. Now they're looking for a backup quarterback, but I don't think the Ravens are done at the quarterback position just yet. I think they go into this draft looking to see what the options are, to see if they could find a quarterback who one day can help replace Joe Flacco. Doesn't mean they find one, doesn't mean they get one. But I thought it was interesting today that Ozzie Newsome at that press conference said that you're going to be surprised at who we pick at number 16 if we stay at number 16.
And if being the operative word there, Teddy.
Yeah, and congratulations to Robert Griffin III for getting another chance. This being, I think, his third chance at playing quarterback in the National Football League. I think this is a good role for him because the whole thing was he never lasted 16 games. I mean, if he was beat up at the end. You get injuries. I mean, he has that small, slight frame. So coming in off of the bench, Joe Flacco, if he's got a bad back, an injury, things like that, he's down for a game. All right, you've got a veteran quarterback that can come in and. The Baltimore Ravens, what they majored in last year were short passes. Passes less than 10 yards down the field. It was dink and dunk. That's what Flacco was doing. And Robert Griffin III, his last couple years in the league, he actually completed about 70% of these throws. So he is accurate. Short passes, maybe if that's what they do, Robert Griffin III, he can be a capable backup for this team.
And this is a team, I think, Teddy, that is not Ravens that we're used to seeing. They still could use help at the wide receiver position. They still could use help at the tight end position. They still could use help at the running back position. There are a lot of areas across the board, especially on the offensive side of the football, that need to be addressed in the upcoming draft.
They got Michael Crabtree, at wide receiver. I mean, that's something there. Flacco's going to have to put in the work to develop a relationship with these guys. Why do you have to hear about a quarterback being asked to work extra with his wide receivers? What is that? I don't understand how the feeling is in the Ravens organization about the motivation of Joe Flacco. When you have to, if you've got a guy that doesn't want to come in, doesn't want to stay late, that's a problem right there that needs to be remedied.
Well, let's go back to the draft. And as you mentioned, Adam, there are a number of different areas where Baltimore may turn. Todd McShay and Mel Kiper are here, as we mentioned. And gentlemen, what are the possibilities the Ravens do draft a quarterback?
Listen, I think it's a little bit of a long shot, but I wouldn't completely rule it out. And I'm talking about the first round. Later, I think there's a strong possibility that they could. But you're sitting there at 16. I don't know that you're going to wind up being able to package picks and move up for one of these top four quarterbacks. That leaves us with who? Lamar Jackson. So that to me would be interesting. And I've always said with Lamar Jackson, if you decide you're going to go all in with this guy at some point, first of all, you're probably going to want a year to develop him. And so Flacco's your guy for another year. Secondly, you're going to want to have a capable backup and a backup that can come in and run this offense. Because this offense with Lamar is going to be different than the Flacco offense. They're going to have a lot more mobility aspects in there, and with his slight frame, there's a really good chance that he winds up getting injured. So this, you're reading into it, no doubt about it. I have no information that says it, but Lamar Jackson would be the only guy in the first round, to me, that would make sense. If not, I think it's a Calvin Ridley, wide receiver for Bama, or a Dallas Goedert from South Dakota State, or Hayden Hurst, both at the tight end position from South Carolina.
Yeah, I think about the offensive tackle. Adam alluded to right tackle. Mike McGlinchey from Notre Dame is at his best when he's at right tackle, not left tackle. Colt Miller, UCLA, is a left tackle. They have Ronnie Stanley. They need that right tackle to solidify that position. McGlinchey from Notre Dame would be a plug-and-play starter immediately. Tight ends in need, you can get one in the second round. There's some third and fourth round quarterbacks. Kyle Lauletta, Richmond, could be there in the third round. Luke Falk, Washington State. Mike White, Western Kentucky. Fifth, sixth round, maybe Chase Litton from Marshall. So there's other options at quarterback other than the elite four plus Lamar Jackson.
Well, gentlemen, don't go too far. I know we have so much to get to with you both and your new mock drafts, but another day, for the LA Rams, they found a trading partner in New England. The Patriots traded receiver Brandon Cooks to LA in exchange for the 23rd overall pick in this year's draft. And as part of the deal, which was official last night by the Rams, New England also sent a fourth-round pick to LA and received a sixth-round pick from the Rams. Here's what Britt Cook has done. 20 touchdowns in the last 3 years. That's number 6 in the league. He's one of the preeminent deep threats in the NFL. 12 touchdowns on throws at least 20 yards down the field. Only Kenny Stills and DeAndre Hopkins have more. Here's his new coach, Sean McVay, on the deal.
All you really hear about Brandon is just what a phenomenal guy he is. He's got enough tape that you can evaluate and you could say, certainly I don't really care what system it is. This guy fits in any system because he can play ball. Jared, I know, was excited when I got a chance to give him a call after we were able to get that deal done yesterday, and he's always respected his game. And I think they've worked out a couple times together and sharing that same agent. And then, Brandon being out here from Stockton, I think is something that's good where, he'll be excited to come back out to Cali. One of the things that's consistent is all of these guys, they don't shy away from the thing of past. They fully take accountability and acknowledge that, hey, I got to move on. I got to take accountability for some of the things that occurred. But these guys love football, and we can, we're excited about what guys have about it. So I'm sure we can either find a way to bring our team and everybody come together, and that's what we're excited about. And obviously these guys can all play too.
It seems like, Adam, every time we talk about some bigger deal, we have to at least include the LA Rams on one side of the occasion. So how did we get here with Brandon Cooks?
Well, look, I think that ever since they lost Sammy Watkins to the Kansas City Chiefs, the Los Angeles Rams have been in the market for a replacement. Now, they had been talking to the Patriots, the Rams GM Les Snead and the Patriots GM Nick Caserio, for about a month. And those conversations continued at the owners' meetings. But on Monday, Sean McVay, the Rams head coach, and Bill Belichick, the Patriots head coach, were at a coaching clinic together in Georgia. And the two of those men continued the conversations that had been in place and were basically able to put together much of the deal that was consummated later in the day on Tuesday. The Rams got exactly what they were looking for, the replacement they had been seeking when they failed to re-sign Sammy Watkins. The Patriots got more draft capital, and everybody's going to wonder what the Patriots are doing here. Patriots lose another weapon, how do they replacement wide receiver? Fact of the matter is, Teddy, they get Julian Edelman back, they get Malcolm Mitchell back, they have a situation where they have Chris Hogan, Rob Gronkowski isn't going anywhere. So the Patriots have ample weapons. They still need to add some more help for Tom Brady. But look, the other thing to remember is the Patriots were trying to re-sign Brandon Cooks this offseason. And the Patriots came at him with a strong offer. He wanted more, with the wide receiver market exploding the way it has, with Mike Evans making big money and Sammy Watkins making big money. And when it became obvious to the Patriots that they were not going to be able to reach a long-term deal with Brandon Cooks, those talks that have been going on with the Rams escalated to the point where they finally got to
And that's the formula. You got a kid that's on his last year of whatever contract he may be in. He fits the formula that you like. He's productive. He's young. He can give you a good amount of years, 3, 4, 5 years of production. You make the offer. If it doesn't work out, you move on. But to the Los Angeles Rams, they got a lot going on now.
A lot
going on for a young head coach, the youngest head coach in the National Football League, and then also one of the oldest defensive coordinators in the National Football League. You got a new stadium coming up. You got these almost, I don't want to call them mercenary players coming in, one-year contracts. Who's going to get paid? Ndamukong Suh, volatile personalities, Marcus Peters, Aqib Talib, making it all gel together. It would be a coaching masterpiece, in my opinion, if McVay gets all of this to work and they end up getting to the Super Bowl or winning the Super Bowl, because the most important thing to me is how does Aaron Donald feel about all of this? You're bringing everybody in, and that's great, but where's my money?
Yeah, but they haven't paid any of these guys, Teddy.
That's true, but all of this news is detracting from the most important piece, in my opinion, is locking up the best defensive lineman, front seven player in the National Football League with a long-term deal. Who's going to lead all of these defensive personalities together? You automatically look to Aaron Donald, but what's his motivation if I'm going into training camp and the regular season and I still don't have a contract or a commitment from you?
But let me say this. Their intent is to re-sign Aaron Donald.
That's good to hear.
And I believe they'll get that deal done. And I believe when that deal gets done, it'll be somewhere around $20 million a year. And once the Rams put out $20 million a year, it's only a matter of time before that deal gets done.
And for me, that puts it all together. There's your piece.
So there's no question.
There's our guy. All of these extra pieces can look at that leader, Aaron Donald. There's the man. That's who we look to. And then they all gel together. Wade Phillips can get it done.
But it doesn't change the fact that Marcus Peters is going to a fifth-year option and Ndamukong Suh is on a one-year deal. Brandon Cook's on a one-year deal. There's a lot of contractual issues that have to be addressed in addition to Aaron Donald.
It also doesn't change the fact that that's a lot of personality there. And, it's feast or famine. They can come together or they,
And they all love ball. They all love ball, like Sean McVay is saying, but they also don't like to lose. And when it happens and you lose, they know how to express themselves also.
They do know how to do that.
In different ways.
in many varied forms. Let me ask you about the Patriots, Teddy, in particular, because to Adam's point, people will start to speculate now what they'll do in the draft now that they're accumulating picks. Would you be surprised to see New England draft a quarterback and start to plan for life after Tom Brady?
Drafting a quarterback's guaranteed, okay, for the New England Patriots. They need to. It's just the formula of the room equals that. 41-year-old quarterback. Hoyer's also up there. You need youth, and when you get him's the key. I'd be shocked if they didn't get a quarterback but before the start of the third round. I just think it's in the front of Bill Belichick's mind. Who's going to develop under Brady? Who do I got? Who can I get? So first round, second round, I mean, is it second round? That's what they've done before with Garoppolo, but they know they know which position is the most important on the team. All right, they're not stupid. They need more talent in the quarterback room.
So you're telling me that in the first two rounds, when the Patriots have double ones and double twos, that the intent going in is going to be taking quarterback?
I think one of those picks will be a quarterback.
I agree.
Yes.
I agree. In the first two rounds. And I wouldn't rule out the idea that the Patriots could move up to go get a quarterback.
They have the collateral now. They have what they need to do.
They can go do whatever they want. Keep in mind that last year, the Kansas City Chiefs went from 27 to 10 to go get Patrick Mahomes. The Texans came up from in the 20s, I think, or maybe 18, to go get Deshaun Watson at 12. Each of the last 5 quarterbacks picked in the first round of the draft have been picked off trades where a team moved up. If the right guy is there at the right time, and I don't know whether that's at the top of the draft or later on in the draft, the Patriots are coming up again.
Well, and they have the picks to do it. That's the big point there. And Mel and Tide will go back to you. New England, of course, picking 23rd in the first round. What are the expectations?
I think left tackle. I think you think about Nate Solder and how valuable he was. Now with the New York Giants, you have Tom Brady. You want to protect him. You got the best left tackle in the draft. You could maybe see him still there at pick 23. That would be Colton Miller, offensive tackle from UCLA. Will give him that ability at that left tackle spot, Todd, to have a guy you can plug right in there. And certainly when you see the development of Colton Miller this year, coming back from the injury, had I thought, a very good season for the Bruins. Outstanding feet and pass protection. That's going to allow him to come into the NFL and be a factor. He's 6'8". He tested stronger than everybody thought he would with 24 reps. Incredibly athletic. You talk about upside potential. You watch this kid and the way he can handle the 6'2" defensive ends that can bend off the edge. He can get it done. Oh, like Colton Miller, left tackle from UCLA.
Best
pick
part,
23.
Best part of Miller is he went to Teddy Bruschi's high school.
Bam! Get him!
Mike McGlinchey is another guy. Both of these guys are in the mold of Nate Solder. And you can talk about left tackle, right tackle, whatever you want. He's played on both sides. I agree Miller's more athletic, probably has more upside. McGlinchey, to me, is more ready to play. Fascinating part is the Patriots may be moving up for a quarterback. Who would that quarterback be? If a Josh Rosen were to fall a little bit for whatever reason to get into that 5, 6, 7 range, I think that would be a good spot for Rosen. I think he could learn for a year with Brady, and also I think the intelligence level would match, and he would certainly, you keep hearing about Rosen, he needs someone to challenge him intellectually. I think Belichick would be a pretty good guy for that job and that staff in New England. So to me, I think that would be an interesting one if Rosen somehow winds up falling just a little bit.
You acquired all these picks, or you're going to give them up to go get the quarterback, or you're going to keep those picks and try to help Brady out. And I think you can get a quarterback in round 2. Mason Rudolph, Oklahoma State, will probably be there. They have 2 second-round picks. They could solidify that position for the future maybe in round 2, or a Kyle Lawletter from Richmond.
All right, up next, we will take a look at mock draft 4.0 from you both. I do want to ask you this, Adam, though, because no sooner than this trade was rumored to be true, Twitter sort of blew up about the speculation that it could be Odell Beckham Jr. headed to New England, which I don't think makes any sense, really. But what is his future?
Well, you answered the question yourself.
It makes me, it just doesn't fit the Patriots mold.
It would be very strange. Look, I never rule out anything this time of the year because
for sure.
Strange things happen, and maybe the Patriots will make the call, and maybe the Giants want to load him, and maybe Odell Beckham Jr. does wind up in New England. But going in, I'm with you. It doesn't make any sense. You have to go trade for a player, give up a lot of the draft collateral that you've just accumulated, and go pay a wide receiver more than you're paying your quarterback. Does that make any sense?
Doesn't make a lot of sense.
Does that make any sense where you have all these holes that you need to fill and you need to go get a quarterback?
Right.
No, it doesn't.
It doesn't. I agree with Adam. And I'll just say this, too. You have so much flexibility, like Mel and Todd are talking about. Right. You also can use the selections. But if you covet a player that's up there, maybe a defensive player that you covet, and if he's right in the right position for you to trade up and go. When Bill Belichick went to Bradley Chubb's workout, and he handled the workout, I remember what he said to him. You could hear it. He said, I want to wish you luck. We're not going to get you. We're sitting at 31. Bill liked Bradley Chubb. You could tell how he went about that workout, the interaction. Maybe that's a player, something. Maybe there's a defensive player. He sees that if he's there at that value slot, that value selection, I make a move.
What does that tell you that Bill Belichick was working out, leading that workout of Bradley Chubb at that time? Is that unusual?
He's done it before. But you can tell the guys that he likes, the certain time. And watching Bradley Chubb on film, I can just see the Belichick connection, the interaction. Is it possible?
Is it possible? And I'm with Adam. You never say never at this point in the season, but certainly something like Odell Beckham Jr. would raise a lot of eyebrows. Todd McShay's latest mock draft has caused a stir with his counterpart, our friend Mel. We'll talk about that and explain why after a short break.
This is a reckless stunt.
We never shook hands on this.
We did.
Well, Kuiper's just been putting shackles on us for all these years, and I finally had to kind of break.
They're called rules.
Okay, rules. I'm not as big on the rules as Mel is.
I don't appreciate it because it undermines everything we're trying to do. You didn't even alert me to
I
this.
like it. You're getting actually frustrated, Papa Kuiper.
I didn't have an opportunity to project trades. You didn't provide me with that opportunity.
You created these rules, big boy.
And you broke them.
Yes.
Mel Kiper Jr., there he is. Mock draft 4.0. He's got quarterback Josh Allen at number 1, headed to the Cleveland Browns, followed by USC's Sam Darnold to the Giants. And then there's Todd McShay, who also released his mock draft 4.0 today. And Todd McShay has a twist this year. He's going to, for the first time, give the green light to trades. And that has gone over like maybe one would say a lead balloon or something like that with our friend Mel Kiper, because Mel, you agree to disagree? I don't even know if it's agree to disagree. You just disagree.
We have a few rules, like one rule, no trades.
One rule. That's your trade. There's one
not
rule.
that hard. It isn't that difficult. Okay, but this was a purposeful, defiant move on McShay's part. He's done it before. He had promised me he'd have a draft stunt.
Purposeful,
He's starting early. He's got a lot to worry about between now and late April, and he's starting already. This wasn't even April Fool's joke.
Listen, man, you've been shackling everyone.
How'd they get up there?
Exactly.
Oh, and that's right. The Bills.
We're living in pretend land as it is. If we're going to live in pretend land,
fans that thought this deal was made.
We might as well pretend a little more.
That's Mel Kiper's one rule.
Look how serious he is too.
I love the headshot.
Papa Kiper, man, he's been all over me all day.
All right, so since we do have trades now, at least in this version, obviously there's been a change at the top, right at number 2 with the Buffalo Bills. Explain.
This would require. Shefty will know better than me, but I'm guessing either 3 ones, meaning this year's 2 and 1 next year, or 2 first-round picks and the second-round pick this year, and maybe a little bit more in order to do it, because the Giants know how desperate the Bills are to get up to number 2. But if they're able to get up there, then it becomes interesting. Josh Allen is a great possibility because of the big arm in that weather, in that division. Josh Rosen would be in play, I would guess. But if they're going to move up and give away all of this, they're going to have to know that their guy is there. And so it might take up till draft night, knowing who the first overall pick is, to say, you know what, we wanted Allen all along, and he's there.
And Browns head coach Hugh Jackson said that knowing the way Cleveland operates, they might not have a decision, a final decision, certainly one that we would know about until the day of the draft. We'll see whether that comes to be. But Buffalo has been a team that has been talked about going up. That's the spot they have to get to if they want to go get a guy like Josh Allen.
When you look at the top 10, that's not the only trade, because you can look down no further than number 6 and see that Miami has moved up.
Well, Miami's picking at 11. And so, listen, they like Ryan Tannehill when he's healthy. The problem is he can't stay healthy, so you can't trust him to be your quarterback. I'm not sure that they're going to wind up doing this and moving up, but it wouldn't require an awful lot in terms of draft foundation move up lives. And we know that are in a position where they need to get as many picks as they can. Moving back for the second time after already moving back in the trade with the Jets would allow them to get a whole bunch more picks. And now you can turn your organization around with a couple years of several picks early on in the draft. I think it would be a great move for the Colts. And if the Dolphins like that guy would be the worst secret in the league or just a really bad rumor. But it sounds like they like Baker Mayfield a lot and would be maybe willing to move up just a little bit to get him.
The division that's affected here, an AFC quarterback, there it is in Buffalo. Now you got your quarterback in Rosen in New York, and then now Miami's got theirs. You've almost, the AFC East, if Brady ends up playing 3 more years, all of a sudden these teams, you can see them, if these picks work out, shift in the AFC East.
Well, that's the whole thing that's so interesting, because there's that window of opportunity for somebody in that division in the future. And the reason we've already seen the Jets go up to number 3, the talk of Buffalo going from number 12 up to number 2 or wherever, and even New England moving up to the first round of the draft, to where Teddy's saying he'd be
East
shocked if the Patriots didn't have a quarterback in the first round. So you can make the argument now. Every single team in the AFC East is looking for that quarterback for the future, knowing that Tom Brady has unlimited time left and the division is wide open.
There's a chance. So you're saying there's a chance.
Is the throne going to be open? They're fighting to get up there. It's like, look out.
It's been a long time since it's even been a plausible situation to think you can compete in the AFC East. All right, when you put them side by side, let's look at the top, Mel. You've got Josh Allen, followed by Sam Darnold. Explain this to me before we have Todd's rebuttal.
Well, I've been consistent since day one with Josh Allen. I think he's a quarterback, the only one with freakish talent. He certainly is, I think, from an arm strength, athleticism standpoint, in the mold of Ben Roethlisberger and a Carson Wentz, both of whom the Browns could have had and didn't take. You're in a division with Flacco in the back of his shoe and coming off a year that wasn't productive. You think about Roethlisberger, headed to retirement at different times. If they nail this pick with Josh Allen, then all of a sudden, moving forward, they can own this division down the road with all the picks, all the things they already made. Josh Allen has done everything right, Wendy, since that shoulder injury when he came back in that bowl game against Central Michigan. To me, Sam Darnold, Josh Allen, look at McShay, look at Todd. He's got Allen at number 2. Not at 15, but at number 2.
As you always say, this is what I think they would do, not what I would do necessarily. But I do like Josh Allen. Let's not make it about that.
Where's the rating going to be? Third round?
It's not worth the time. What is worth the time is mentioning that Sam Darnold, if you look at a top to bottom, what you're looking for in a quarterback, he checks all of those boxes. There's no durability issues. You mentioned shoulder injury with Allen, shoulder and concussion with Josh Rosen, the off-the-field questions with Rosen, the off-the-field incidents and issues with Baker Mayfield. So with all these other quarterbacks, while they're all talented and can all be very good at the next level, this guy, he, in my opinion, in the NFL game, creates the most with his, just the magician he is inside the pocket. To me, if you're the Browns and you've struggled all this time, I know it's a different regime, go get your guy. Go get the best quarterback in this draft, and if Barkley's there at 4, you hit the lottery.
Who's the most mentally tough quarterback, you guys?
Mentally tough?
Mentally tough.
Darnold or Mayfield.
See, he's a hater on Josh Allen. Josh Allen comes back from an injury. By the way, the 2 games he missed with his shoulder, they lost, one of which was to San Jose State. Comes back, lights it up against Central Michigan, goes to the Senior Bowl. Everybody's questioning Monday, develops during the week, lights it up. Senior Bowl game, third quarter, lights it up. They're waiting for the pro day to get incomplete passes. I was watching McShay. He looked like he was going to cry because there was no incompletion. That could have supported his false narrative.
Because I always
Fake news over there from Todd.
I'll say this. Josh Allen compares favorably to Matthew Stafford and Brett Favre. If I'm the Browns, I'll take it.
And I want to say that because that's no easy task up there. Going to a football team that probably has a lot of players in the locker room that are used to losing.
Once in 2
when
years,
it's not only a culture change, it's an attitude change. Everything has to change,
Teddy,
starting with this pick.
Nobody believed in Josh Allen coming out of high school except Craig Bowl. He had nothing. JUCO first, then Craig Bowl. So nobody coming out of high school, nobody after the JUCO ranks believed in Josh Allen. He knows what it takes to have a chip and come in and have to prove himself.
But Mel does believe in him.
Yes.
And I'll also say this.
Mel is the one.
Wait, when we look at the profile of the Browns general manager, John Dorsey, and the quarterbacks he's drafted, He's been involved with Brett Favre, traded up last year for Patrick Mahomes.
Yep.
Big arms.
Big arm guys.
Big
Listen,
bodies.
It won't surprise me at all if Allen's the pick. I think Sam Darnold.
I don't care what you think. This is a mock draft.
Right.
Okay, another rule you broke.
That's a shot.
Like I say, no fake news from you two. No
You've been taking
fake
them all day,
news. Any chance at all, I've got a question I think you'll agree on. Any chance at all that we do not see a quarterback at number 1 overall?
No chance.
No chance.
Hey, I got a question.
I'd be shocked.
Both
Okay.
you guys.
There we go.
Both you guys from 7 to 10 had the exact same picks.
Yeah, I mean, we do
What's up with that?
have some harmony here.
Ward, Nelson, Fitzpatrick, and Murphy.
Thank you by coming up.
I mean,
one-sided on
that's
that.
unbelievable.
All one
You can't not return a hug.
Never,
That's just
Mel.
mean.
Never with Todd.
That's just mean, Mel.
Hey,
all
I
right.
can go there.
All right, plenty of good quarterbacks will be drafted in the first round, and believe it or not, we're going to talk more about these guys with Mel and Todd and see where they think these prospects will land. Stay with us.
Rosen off with a double move down the seam, perfectly thrown, touchdown, UCLA.
Now, they're ready to be unearthed.
I think I'm the best quarterback here.
There are concerns. I mean, is he going to be a good teammate? He's a why guy. He's always asking the question why. It gets annoying to coaches.
I'm going to do absolutely everything I can to help the team win.
Because of fit,
Yeah.
I would take Sam Darnold if I were the Cleveland Browns.
I'm not really trying to project anything. I'm just trying to be me. How I've learned, how I've grown. Learned there's a time and place for everything. I'm not going to change who I am, but you might trim the fat a little bit.
Unveiled under the bright lights of the big stage.
Well, back with Mel and Todd, and while they may dispute the rules of the mock draft, what they do agree on is Josh Rosen. And interestingly enough, both of you have Josh headed to the Jets. Let's talk about why, and then perhaps what would make him a good fit there. Mel, I'll talk with you.
Well, I have him as the third best quarterback in the draft. And I think when you look at the Jets, they gave up 3 starters, 2 seconds this year and a second next year to go from 6 to 3. That's a hefty price to pay when you're getting the third best quarterback. Now, maybe on their board, it might be the second best quarterback or their number 1 quarterback, depending on how they rate Josh Rosen. But I think he will be the quarterback, Todd, that drops to 3. I think he'll be there for the Jets. They obviously need him. They say he's everybody NFL ready. Well, they have Josh McCown and they have Teddy Bridgewater. So there are quarterbacks in place to maybe allow him some time. Still coming from UCLA, coming off a concussion protocol, 32 days, not available for their bowl game. Did not play the full season 2 years ago, missed half the season with a shoulder injury. So we talk about all the comments that Jim Mora made and how we've talked about since then and about Josh Rosen through the process. Durability is something that you have to think about with Josh Rosen. 2 straight years, shoulder, then the concussion, have kept him in a position now where there's some concern about that.
Yeah, listen, Josh Rosen is an acquired taste, and you have to have people around him that can challenge him mentally. I really believe that. He is so intelligent, and he wants, as you heard before, he wants to know why. And that can be a great thing. And a lot of the top quarterbacks in the NFL are that way too. If you're going to tell them to do something, they want to know why. And then they've got to understand it and say, you know what, okay, that makes sense to me, now let's go do it. I thought for Jim Moore to come out and say those things, it didn't sit very well with me, and it just screams of being disappointed with what happened over the last 3 years at UCLA and not supporting his guy. Ultimately, it needs to be the right fit for Rosen, but I think if Rosen winds up in a place where he's challenged mentally and he's in a system with some guys around him that can protect him because he's not overly mobile and he does have durability issues, but if he's got some pieces around him, this guy can be great. He processes information faster than any quarterback in this draft, and he's the best just pure passer inside the pocket in this class.
Real quick, well, the one thing we always seem to do when we get in these debates is get a lot of hate on somebody. And you think it's all,
and we pile on.
And it's negative, and Josh Rosen could be the third pick in the draft. We were talking after the crosstown rivalry game against USC and Sam Darnold. We both left that game, did SportsCenter Live after that, and said, hey, Rosen outplayed Sam Darnold. He looked like the better quarterback on the same field that evening, that game, that rivalry game. So Josh Rosen has a lot of ability. Like Joe Flacco, he may not be all just about football. Who knows? Joe Flacco's had a successful career. He's got a Super Bowl ring. He may not be the first one in the building, last one out.
Aaron Rodgers isn't 100% about football. He has other interests,
and perhaps
he's
that
very
makes you better. You know, and I would say this: I understand that there may be some frustrations, and from a coaching standpoint, it can grow tiresome. But I don't think it should be an automatic negative that someone's intellectually curious. You know, we can't have it both ways. We've often criticized players for not asking asking questions. And then this kid does, and suddenly it's a huge problem. Let me ask you about Baker Mayfield, because there is some disagreement there. 5? You have him at 5?
Mm-hmm.
And so tell me why, and then Todd, we'll talk about what you think Denver would do. Because it's an entirely different situation for the two of you.
All right. First, I'll start, Todd, since you projected the trades. I'll let you get into more detail about that. But I think when you look at Baker, 6'1.5" is not changing. We know what he did in college. He was a great player. He goes to Denver. Case Keenum had 1 year. He was plus 15 touchdown interception ratio. Up until this year, he was plus 4. So he had that 1 year. Is he a 1 year wonder? Everything was in place in Minnesota. Now he's in Denver. Do you feel like, okay, if he's great, we're happy. We got Baker Mayfield, but we're still happy because Case Keenum's doing great and he can't win the job. If Case Keenum is just decent to average in that area, then maybe you get the big upgrade with Baker Mayfield. Not in year 1. This is Case Keenum's team. But maybe year 2, year 3, you get that big upgrade, just like they tried to do with him. They brought Cousins in, hopefully to get an upgrade. Maybe Baker Mayfield's not only an upgrade, he's your upgrade in year 2, year 3, and he's your future. And John Elway and that coaching staff at Denver had him in Mobile Senior Bowl week. And Baker Mayfield at 5 over, say, a Bradley Chubb, I think would be something they have to consider.
It would. Listen, it wouldn't shock me at all. I've heard, actually, that people in that organization are pounding the table for Baker Mayfield and think that he can be the guy. So that won't shock me at all. I just looked at it. You got John Elway, who built this organization on pass rushers and defensive front, and they were ferocious on that side of the ball. And offensively, they were just okay. But the defense won it and got them there and really was the core. You get Bradley Chubb, you can argue second, third best player in this entire draft. And you just paid a quarterback to come in and play. To me, that makes more sense, but it won't shock me. And I've heard Miami has a lot of interest in him as well. And so if he gets to 6 or past that point, Miami could be a team to watch out where you're not paying a ton of compensation to move up, just maybe a third-round pick, move up a couple spots, and go get Mayfield before another team leapfrogs you at 11 and goes and gets him.
Mel, you talked about a player that we sometimes pile on. There's one every year. There's also one every year that's sort of volatile, that moves up, that moves back, that we sort of change our opinion on. And I think this year, for me, early on at least, it seems to be Lamar Jackson for a variety of different reasons. But now in this particular mock draft, you have him going from 15 to 22.
Yeah.
But still in the first round, Mel, and still as a quarterback, which we know is extremely important to Lamar Jackson.
Yes, critical to Lamar Jackson. It's the only thing he wants right now is to be a quarterback. He said, hey, I'm not working out as a wide receiver. I'm not even going to run a 40, which I thought was a mistake at the pro day and the combine, not to run a 40. That to me is a little defiant. But I think when you look at Lamar Jackson, I thought his pro day was pretty good. He had some errant throws, which he's going to do. But I thought the arm strength, I thought his accuracy was better than people thought. We know how competitive he is. We know what a fear factor player is. And what he's got to do, learn, hey, when there's defenders in the area, veer out of bounds. Don't take hits. If he can be that quarterback, 2, 3, he's not going to be the guy right away wherever he goes. We know that. He has to be developed, Todd. But with his skill set, we talk about Mike Vick. Michael Vick went number 1. We're talking about 22 here for Lamar Jackson as a developmental quarterback who comes into the league. He's got, you talk about chips on your shoulder, he's got a major league chip on his shoulder.
Residing squarely on his shoulder, I would agree.
None of this matters. None of this, running a 40, not running a 40, all this stuff that we talk about because we're caught up in the moment, and I get it, none of this matters. At the end of the day, there has to be one team in the first round that says, you know what? We can win with this guy. This guy's the most electrifying player in college football the last 2 years with the ball in his hand. So let's do what Bill O'Brien did, and they're not the same player. But let's do what Bill O'Brien did, and let's change things offensively to go all in on a guy. And when it's his turn, when he's ready to play for whatever reason, we have the offense in place. Now, if you're going to do that, you better have a darn good backup, and better have a backup that can come in and play in a similar offensive system to what you're doing. We saw this year when Deshaun Watson went down, it was over. It was absolutely over. So you've got to have a great backup because this guy is going to run a little bit more than you probably want. It's just in his nature, and it's what he does best right now. And so if he does that with that slight frame, it's going to be hard to stay healthy in the NFL because at 210, you're doing a lot of the same things that Cam Newton's doing at 255 pounds, and Cam even gets banged up.
Is there a scenario, and there almost always is, but in what scenario, I should say, can Lamar Jackson fall out of the first round?
It could happen, Wendy. I mean, he's no guarantee. I think we have a hunch that somebody's going to either trade in or somebody like Jacksonville, as you mentioned, Todd, Arizona, Buffalo, I think could be if Buffalo doesn't move up like you suggest. I just think Lamar Jackson, when you think about this year at Louisville, he lost 3 of his top 4 receivers. He lost his top running back.
They were garbage around him.
And he didn't have a lot. Jaron Christian's a heck of a player, the offensive lineman, but I think you look at a guy like Lamar Jackson, the competitive desire to excel on a football field and be a leader and win, he has that. Can he develop 3? Like I said, if you bring him in, you better spend. Aaron Rodgers sat for 3 years. I think Lamar Jackson has to sit for 2 or 3 years and just sit, watch, and learn, and work with that quarterback coach, work all year diligently to become a more accurate, precise passer, understand the nuances of the game, reading defenses, all the things that need to be done at the pro level that didn't have to be done necessarily at
And
Louisville
maybe you
in
can
college.
put him in a short yardage, goal line situation and utilize his mobility early on in just a small little package.
Yep.
You know, no young quarterback wants to hear that, but it can extend a career. You know, it can pay so many dividends to sit and learn from the very best that are playing. Listen, have you guys played mock draft? Well, I don't know that I've played mock draft
Never.
bingo. No. Can't wait.
Can't
Listen, it's happening. That's
Really?
I heard Brewski likes to fudge the numbers a little bit here.
Listen, this is big. This is really big. It's mock draft bingo. And usually when we play this during the season, you know, we pull out a team and we talk about the quarterback and what's going on. Not this time. No. Here's the twist. We're going to pull out a team and you two are going to tell us what might happen at quarterback in the draft. That work? All right, Teddy, we have been instructed to be very careful with the machine. It's a little dicey.
Come on.
All right, you take over from here.
Okay,
Good.
here we go.
Oh,
I'm not
no
going to
one's
look
looking.
either.
No
Here we
one's
go.
looking.
There it is. There it is.
Okay, what do you got? Oh, the Eagles. Philadelphia. Oh, this is. Oh, they're definitely going to draft a quarterback, the Philadelphia Eagles.
Definitely. I think any position will work, right?
Yeah.
Listen, they don't have huge needs. That's the nice part. They could add a wide receiver. They could go cornerback, I think, is a possibility. Tight end's another possibility. Late in the first, Dallas Goedert from South Dakota State. Aiden Hurst from South Carolina.
Wouldn't it be interesting if a North Dakota State quarterback was thrown to a South Dakota State tight end? That's why I thought Dallas Goedert would make sense. You have a situation there with Burton moving on, Trey Burton moving on, and you have obviously Zach Ertz, but you have that number 2 tight end who actually comped to Zach Ertz. I think Dallas Goedert has a lot of Zach Ertz in him. Dallas Goedert from South Dakota State could be there. Talk about a guy who will high point the ball, basketball background. He's got that Zach Ertz natural pass receiving skills. He's got run after the catch ability. Blocking's obviously not a strength now. He will improve in that area.
Okay.
Adequate. I think you look at Dallas Goedert as a pass catching tight end who provides a great target with his length and his catch radius, with his long arms and his basketball background.
Can he throw? Let's run that Philly special. Run that Philly special again. He may have to.
I wouldn't bet against Dallas.
No, is this the kind of thing that keeps you up? Like, oh, North Dakota State to South Dakota State. Like, that's
interesting storyline.
Oh.
And at 32, somebody could always be coming up to get that last quarterback on a fifth-year option. Fifth-year option there, so that's always a possibility. Let's go to the next team.
Should we
Mix up these bowls a little bit.
Those 30-inch arms going.
How do you open this thing,
listen,
Teddy?
there you go.
There you go. Yep. All right.
The Miami Dolphins.
The Dolphins.
There
I
it
had them trading.
They're trading up.
I don't want to get them going, but if they don't move out of that 11 spot and they go position, I think they could go guard again. I think linebacker is certainly a spot. Roquan Smith would fit perfectly there.
How about a Derwin James, a safety from Florida State, who would be the impact defender like the Dolphins need, a guy who is a fear factor player. Now, with the NFL and the rules, you have to wonder about a guy who'll hit like he will. But I think you look at Maurice Hurst in round 2. Defensive tackle out of Michigan. He's been cleared now, thankfully. And I think you look at Hurst, who can get into that backfield, give him an upgrade at defensive tackle. Then you get the big time help on the back end with a Cam Chancellor type in Derwin James, who earlier on you would have thought maybe top 5. He would have been up there in the stratosphere of the round 1. If he's there at 11, I think it'd make sense for the Miami Dolphins.
Landry's out of there. Sue's out of there. It seems like they're trying to get some type
mass
of
exodus.
reset of culture. Hopefully, who they draft, I'm sure they want leaders out of those selections also.
All right, who? Can you do it again, Teddy? Teddy's turn.
How about it, Teddy?
All right.
We've been told to be careful, close that door, else you know.
There we go. There we go. Detroit
I can't
Lions.
say the Detroit. I can't see this. This is the Detroit Lions.
I went running back.
NFC North. Matt Patricia.
Tony Michel from Georgia would be the number 2 running back off the board. A guy who really was the number 2 running back at Georgia, more explosive than Nick Chubb. He can catch the ball, even though he only had limited production. I think 7 catches this past year. He's got a chance to be a big-time player, maybe more productive in the NFL than he was in college. And Detroit certainly could use an upgrade at that running back position.
They could. The running back's a little high. I think you can get a good one in the 3rd round, as Kareem Hunt proved, and Alvin Kamara. But how about Taven Bryan, the defensive tackle from Florida? Talent like J.J. Watt, production not even close. He is not as productive, kind of an underachiever type.
I was learning how to play the game. He's explosive.
You saw him in the Texas A&M game as I did. You thought top 5, top 10 pick. They get him at 20. Then he come back in round 2, get a guard center, Billy Price, out of Ohio State. But I think Taven Bryan, if he's coached up with his enormous upside, physically and athletically, he is gifted. And if he was a little more productive, we wouldn't be talking about him at pick 20. We would have been talking about him, like I say, at pick 4, 5, 6, 7.
Yeah, defensive players for the Detroit Lions, Matt Patricia being up there, used to be the defensive coordinator in New England. These defensive players drafted high better have scheme flexibility because that's what they're going to do there. They're going to change scheme. They're going to be very flexible.
Let's go one more.
You got one more, Adam.
One more from the.
Oh dear.
I thought we had a special picker today. Wasn't it bring your daughter to school?
Oh, that's right. We should have let Dylan pick today, Adam.
Where is Dylan?
She's over there. Adam Schefter's the future of the Schefter family.
And it's looking bright.
The Baltimore Ravens.
Good.
Baltimore Ravens, what do we got?
I was going to say,
we have a development today with RG3.
I think the right tackle position, when you think about Alex Lewis coming back from the injury, he can now play guard. And I think you think about a guy like Ronnie Stanley at left tackle, Mike McGlinchey, the right tackle. When he was at left tackle, he struggled. But at right tackle a couple years ago, he was solid. And he had a chance, you thought, to be an elite player. As a bookend, plug-and-play guy, smart, professional already. He's ready to go. He would enhance that offensive line and give Joe Flacco more time and also help that running game.
Sneak one more in.
One more. Okay,
one more.
One more.
Dylan's going to pick the last
We're going to let Dylan pick the last one.
Say hi to everybody. There you go.
Dylan Schefter, everybody. What do you got? Chargers?
Yeah, Chargers.
Okay, so yes, the Chargers.
I think offensive line is a possibility. What are they going to do at quarterback a little bit later in the draft? Are they going to try to draft someone for the future? But those are two positions.
Well, they were soft in the belly. And I think the defensive line position, defensive tackle, they have the outside pass rushers with Bosa and Ingram. They need a guy like Deron Payne from Alabama. He was a productive player, tremendous athleticism. He was really a guy that I think allowed Alabama to have an opportunity defensively to not lose ground. And
he's underrated.
A star-studded group. And he's the ringleader. And he was the guy along with Rashaan Evans and Minka Fitzpatrick that made it go. And I think if you can get a guy like this, if Washington, say, we took Jonathan Allen last year out of Alabama, passes on Payne and maybe looks at Vita Vea from Washington, he could still be there for the LA Chargers.
Bosa, Ingram, and Payne.
That's a
good, man.
That's a good.
It would be a Payne.
All right, you agree? Are you okay with all this?
Yes.
Okay, so we have approval from from half the Schefter contingent. It's better half. The Cardinals bringing back Larry Fitzgerald, David Johnson. They've added Sam Bradford. We'll talk about what position they should be targeting in this month's draft.